Hi, it's Gene, retired in Mexico. And if you're new to the channel, we're doing album by album from years. So we started in 1970, and today we are going to count down our 10 favorite albums from 1987. And I'm on Instagram, Patreon, and Facebook. So all the information's up above. And down below is the like and subscribe button. And we encourage you to engage with the channel. Today I have special guest Professor Gumbo from Phoenix, Arizona. And I wanted to welcome you to the channel. And how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks. Yeah, doing pretty well right now.
You looking forward to doing 1987?
I am, yes. It was a good year. It was hard for me to whittle it down to 15 albums, let alone 10.
Okay, and what I do here on the channel is I like to give a little background to the year just to focus us on what 1987 was. I actually don't have a lot of information this go round. Um, but here are some of the things that happened in 87. And the first one I picked was because you, Professor, went to Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And in 1987, Oral Roberts announced that he needed $8 million dollars or God would call him home. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. He sent registered letters to his major supporters, and my parents were among those. And so, you know, I read the letter, and it was in like um, he was in the wilderness of Palm Springs, on the golf course when God told him. Yeah. So he was trying to extort money. God was trying to extort money.
Yeah, George Carlin said that the all supreme being just isn't very good at financial affairs. um, the Simpsons debuted on the Tracy Ullman show. So these are just a couple little things. World population. You know, when we started this series in 1970, I announced that the world population was 3.7 billion. Here in 87, it was estimated at 5 billion. So
Wow.
it increased by 50% just since we started this series, which is, if you think about it, that's a lot of busy people.
Hmm.
Yeah. FCC introduced the fairness doctrine. Now, I have some opinions on that, and I'm not going to express them here, but I think the fairness doctrine is still something that we're dealing with today in the news media. October 19th, Black Monday. I remember that really well. It was one of the worst days in Dow Jones history. Big decline in stock values. Top films: Three Men and a Baby, Fatal Attraction, which I didn't think was a very good movie, and Good Morning Vietnam, Moonstruck, and The Untouchables, which was a very good movie.
Was
Top singles included Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, Los
hey,
Lobos.
people
Go
been
ahead.
getting rickrolled ever since 1987.
Los Lobos, La Bamba. That was the year of that movie. George Michael, Faith, and U2, With or Without You. Deaths included Carlton Barrett of Bob Marley and the Wailers, part of their rhythm section, Peter Tosh, another reggae artist. Both of them were murdered. Paul Butterfield and John Hammond, who discovered Billie Holiday, Bob Dylan, and Bruce Springsteen. So, yeah, that was a lot. Does that bring back memories?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so
Especially,
we are taking, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
especially never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.
That song sticks in your head, doesn't it?
It does. It's a total earworm.
Yeah, for better or for worse. I don't really like that song, but yeah, you can bring it to mind immediately. It got so much airplay. So what we are doing is we're taking turns going first, and I'm doing the odd years, and this is an odd year, so I'm going to kick this off with my number 10. And let's see here. What do I want to say about this year? It was, yeah, it was a good year. I didn't have quite the same struggle that you had, but I had maybe 16, 17 albums that I really liked. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to talk briefly about each album, and then we're going to pick two songs from that album. And then when we're all done, we'll do five honorable mentions. So my number 10, somebody I'm a big fan of, this is Warren Zevon with Sentimental Hygiene, produced by Warren Zevon, Nico Bolas, and Andrew Slater. Has a bunch of guest stars on it. Has everybody from REM except Michael Stipe. Has Neil Young on the title track, and yeah, I think I don't know. There's a bunch of people on here. I can't even remember everybody, but Warren Zevon was a musician's musician, so he attracted, he'd ask people to be on his albums, and lots of people got on there. This is a rock and roll album, though. When I was listening to it the other day, it does have more keyboards than I remembered. But it's just a great rock and roll album with a lot of humor. My songs, I'm going to pick Boom Boom Mancini, which is a song about Ray Mancini, the boxer. And I used to watch a lot of boxing. My father liked boxing, and we used to watch. And I was watching TV when Boom Boom Mancini was fighting Dooku Kim, and Dooku Kim never got up off the canvas. That was really sad. And he mentions that in this song. But hurry on home. Boom Boom Mancini's fighting Bobby Chacon. And yeah, I remember all those boxing matches. And the song kind of has it gives you the feel of a boxing match. It's kind of got this kind of punch to it, if you will, if I may use a pun. And then I'm going to pick a song that I just think is hilarious. It's called Detox Mansion, and it's about being in rehab, playing golf in the afternoon. Um, Detox Mansion, me and Liza clean up the yard. So I love Detox Mansion. So that's my number 10 pick, Warren Zevon's Sentimental Hygiene.
Good one. My number 10 is somebody that I had from at least once, maybe twice earlier in his band. It's David Sylvian, who was originally the lead singer for Japan. And what's interesting about David Sylvian to me is if you look at his work chronologically, including Japan, he started out as Japan started out as a new wave band that was influenced by Brian Ferry and Roxy Music, but Brian Ferry was like up here and they were down here. They were good, but they weren't nearly, you know, what you know, Brian Ferry could do. And in some ways, David Sylvian came across as a Brian Ferry wannabe. But they had good songs and they had good albums. By the time he went solo, he leveled the playing field really well. It wasn't that Brian Ferry was getting worse. It's just Brian Ferry was treading water, and David Sylvian was getting more and more suave, and his stuff quit being. Uh, it became almost new age, but not new age. It had this suave new agey feel to it, and to me, the best album of that period was Secrets of the Beehive, which, if you're going to have one David Sylvian album, this is the one to have. And his voice is like really, it's like honey. It's just really smooth. Um, and the two songs that I like the best are Orpheus, which is on any version of it, but the American version of the CD had a song that he recorded a year or two before, but this was a new version of it. It was with Ryuichi Sakamoto from Yellow Magic Orchestra, and it was written for Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. And the song is Forbidden Colors. And it's really it's just it's a beautiful goosebump raising song about it's clearly it's about forbidden sexuality because what you have in that movie is Sakamoto, who was an actor as well as a keyboard player. He plays a commandant of a Japanese prison camp during World War II. And David Bowie plays an officer who has been um, taken. And there's this really interesting relationship. There's this homoerotic thing that goes on with them, but it's a really, really powerful movie. And this song, I I can't really even hear the song without thinking of the movie. So um, if you're going to look for the album, definitely look for a copy that has Forbidden Colors on it. So Orpheus and Forbidden Colors from David Sylvian's Secrets of the Beehive.
Oh, great. I really enjoyed your comments on that. Yeah, it's a great album. My number 9 is John Hyatt. Finally, he's made one of my lists. Yeah, great artist. I love John Hyatt. And this is Bring the Family. A lot of people consider this his best album, and it may be. Yeah, I think it's probably his best album. So the story goes that he asked I think his producer, the producer on this is John Chilou, and I'm not sure what other work he's done. I looked him up, but I don't recall. But they asked John Hyatt, who would you like to work with? And he made a wish list, and everyone said yes. The bass player is Nick Lowe, a very underrated bass player. Guitarist is Ry Cooder, and the drummer is Jim Keltner, who played with the Traveling Wilburys and lots of people. If you look at Jim Keltner's sessionography, it's astounding. So anyway, he got his dream band on here, and it's great. This is a great sounding album. I'm kind of surprised with Nick Lowe on it that he didn't produce it, but anyway, Nick Lowe is just the bass player. He doesn't. I don't think he even sings on here. But it's a great album. I've loved it since it came out. I've been familiar with it since 1987. And there's several good songs on here, but I'm going to go with Thing Called Love. And he actually rhymes amoeba with Queen of Sheba on here. I think his rhyme schemes are so clever. And this was a song that Bonnie Raitt covered, and she made a big hit out of it. So you may have heard that. And then a ballad called Have a Little Faith in Me, which is really emotional. And I've seen him perform that song in concert, and it's a concert staple, one of the fan favorites. And yeah, it's just a great sounding album. And Ry Cooder is on fire with his slide guitar and acoustic guitar and different things on here. He's playing both. I think he plays mostly electric, but then Hyatt plays the piano on here, like on Have a Little Faith. It's kind of a piano song. It's just really a terrific album. So number 9, John Hyatt, Bring the Family.
Yeah, a really fine album. And Hyatt was, as he got to that, he was getting more serious and more Americana and roots rock rather than being a an American version of Elvis Costello.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, my number 9 is the first uh, double album by a band that we both like an awful lot. It was their second album on for Warner Brothers, and that's Husker Du, Warehouse Songs and Stories. And my CD has autographs of all the members of the band because this album had just come out when we saw them in concert, and so they was very heavy on this album. Not it wasn't exclusive, but remember this was a 2 record set or a 2 disc set. So and it's not filler really. It's just it's you almost one is almost reminded of the Minutemen as far as doing so many songs. Uh, Mold, of course, was doing tons of songs as he always did, but Grant Hart also wrote quite a few of the songs for this one, and so there's it's a wealth of riches, and it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to put in there. I wanted one Bob Mould and one Grant Hart. The Bob Mould was the first single, Could You Be the One? And the Grant Hart was a little bit of kind of a psychedelic. She floated away.
Hmm.
I always liked that song. So, Warehouse Songs and Stories by Husker Du. Could You Be the One? And She Floated Away. This, by the way, also was the last Husker Du um, studio album. They released a live album, um, but this was the last studio album that they made. And then Mold and Hart kind of had a falling out for a while there.
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so I might as well go right into it. Number 8 for me is Husker Du, Warehouse Songs and Stories. And I also have an autographed copy because we went down there together. And thank you for inviting me down there.
My
And then
pleasure.
we saw him later that night at an all ages club called Prisms. And it's great. And produced by Bob Mould and Grant Hart. So it had that same kind of sonic quality that Candy Apple Gray had. This one's a double album, but it allows Husker Du to, I think, to expand a little bit on guitar. So Candy Apple Gray was a snappy album. It was single disc, a lot of short songs around 3 minutes, and it kind of had a pop feel to it. Who's Warehouse Songs and Stories? They kind of um, stretch out a little bit. I think because it was a double. And by the way, when we saw them, it was so interesting because they had just taped or were going to. I think they'd already taped it. They said, "Hey, we're going to be on the Joan Rivers show next week," and we watched them on the Joan Rivers show the following week because they told us that they were going to be on, and it's still one of the few television performances that you'll see from the band. But it was great. Loved the show, loved the album. There's some really good guitar on here. Sounds good. I like the clean recording. Yeah, some people were upset, purists who wanted that sort of metal circus and arcade sound, but I personally like the cleaner production. I like to be able to hear the lyrics and I like to hear the guitar tones. So this is a great album for me. And my picks, I also picked a Bob Mould and a Grant Hart song. I went with Could You Be the One? I think that's the obvious Bob Mould choice. And then right after that song on the album is a pretty deep track from Grant Hart called Too Much Spice.
Mm-hmm.
And I find
Yeah.
myself really enjoying that song. So that 1-2 punch on the album, consecutive tracks, I'm going to go with those two. So yeah, there we are. That was your number 9, right? And it's my number
You're
8.
number 8. Yeah. Okay, my number 8. You, I think you'll be pleased, but you'll probably be surprised because I hadn't put this band on before. And it's not that I don't like them. I love all of their albums, but not as much as some of the other ones. But this one is my favorite album by X. Okay,
Mm,
and that is See How We Are. And I know that it's not the most highly regarded critically album by X, but I just really, really like the sound of it. I like every song on it, and it has two two of my favorite X tracks. One of them is Fourth of July, which is my favorite song by them. Even though they didn't write it, that was written by you know, I don't know, but it's
Dave
the
Alvin, Dave Alvin.
Dave Alvin, right, right. And then the title track, See How We Are, which is really a poignant song about how society is going downhill, at least American society is. And if you look around on YouTube, you can find John and Exene actually doing a different version of that that's really powerful. Um, going to put bars on all the windows. Only it only comes around once in every 7 years. See how we are.
Got it.
So yeah, so see how we are by by X, and the two songs are Fourth of July and See How We Are.
Gotta love that song. See How We Are was my number 16 album, and I cut it at the last minute, but I love that album. Hans Olsen used to do See How We Are. Remember Hans Olsen?
Yeah, yeah.
He's still around. He used to do that when I would go see him in the clubs, and it's such a great song. But I wonder if since I'm not going to be talking about that album, let me take just a half a minute. I have also heard a bit of irony in Fourth of July, and that Fourth of July is Independence Day, and he's in a relationship that's falling apart,
Mhm.
and so he's about to have his own independence.
On
I
the
hear
stairs
that
of
in that song as
cigarette
well.
love. Yeah.
Yeah, Mexican
Mexican
kids
kids are shooting fireworks below.
on the stairs. Yeah, it's a wonderful song. So, yeah, I'm glad you got that on there because those are incredible songs. Okay, my number seven is Mr. Mr. Bruce, Tunnel of Love. The first album without the E Street Band, although members do play on it and sporadically on certain songs. But this is a Bruce Springsteen solo album, and it truly is because he plays most of the instruments. He doesn't play. I don't think he plays any drums on here, but he plays synthesizers and keyboards and all sorts of instruments you don't normally associate with him. There's been a lot written about this album because this is right around the time he was his his first marriage was falling apart from that model, whatever her name was. I've forgotten it. And yeah, there's a it's a sad album, really, I think in a lot of ways. Springsteen always had dark lyrics, at least starting with maybe Born to Run, but yeah, he always I don't know. This is definitely yeah, definitely a very personal album, and I really connect with it. It's got a lot of feeling in it. And John Landau, Chuck Plotkin, Bruce Springsteen produced it. So it's the same guys who produced Born in the USA and The River. But I've noticed that Landau and Plotkin, these guys always seem to come up with a little bit different sonic palette every time. And Tunnel of Love doesn't sound like those albums to me. It's clean, it's a clean production, but it's not as bright. And I like it. I like it a lot. And it's such a good album that it's actually very difficult to pick songs from here. For example, the title track "Tunnel of Love." I love that song, and it's got is it Federici that's on it?
Like,
It's got
um,
those really interesting keyboards, but I'm going to go with "Brilliant Disguise" because that's almost lyrical genius. It's just about looking at someone and just saying, am I seeing the real you, or are you putting on a brilliant disguise?" And then the song that I find the most devastating is "One Step Up." He's at a bar and he's thinking of stepping out, and it's so candid. I love that song "One Step Up." That's my favorite song from the album. "Tunnel of Love," him leaning up against a car, so it looks like it's going to be a typical Springsteen album, but it's not. It's not. And yeah, number seven, "Tunnel of Love."
and that is my number seven as well. Um, and it has a different feel to it. It's definitely not the E Street Band. You're not hearing Clarence on saxophones, um, you know, but it's still definitely Bruce, and it has the music. Some of the songs have an up-tempo sheen to them, like Tunnel of Love. But as you pointed out, you look at the lyrics and they're dark. Um, and so I chose Tunnel of Love as one of the songs,
Ah,
and
good.
Brilliant Disguise. Brilliant Disguise is the other one. Also, it has, trying to think, the Mavericks did a cover of one of the songs from there. Um, I don't remember which one. It was like Tougher Than the Rest or one of those, you know.
Okay.
Um, but by the way, did you hear that Raul from the Mavericks passed away just in the last couple of weeks?
Raw Mallow, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in
Well, Malo.
December, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So it was just a month ago. Really sad. I found out about the Mavericks from Roxanne, and I became a huge fan of theirs. And that's saying quite a bit because I don't get into country bands that much, but I have most of the stuff by the Mavericks. By the way, something that's funny about the Mavericks, did you know that when they started, they were a Florida punk band? Um,
No.
and and then they started doing this Tex-Mex stuff, you know. But Raul was a punk singer, and he's done a lot of covers. He did Cat Stevens, "The First Cut Is the Deepest," and some others.
Wow.
So, all right. So that's my number seven, "Tunnel of Love," and "Brilliant Disguise" from "Tunnel of Love."
The Mavericks have a greatest hits album that's my favorite album by them because when you take the creme de la creme of that band and put together a perfect anthology, wow.
Is
I'm
that
trying
the
to remember
two
what
disc?
it's.
Is that the two
Yeah,
disc set?
exactly. It's.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
think it's all
fantastic.
all killer, no filler. Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
blown away when I first listened to that. All right, my number six is, just a personal favorite band. One of the things I did on here is I put rate your music's ratings on here. The Bruce Springsteen is only 237, if you can believe that. And this album that I'm going to talk about next is 214. Those aren't bad rankings, but they're not great rankings either. But I think this album is highly, highly underrated. This is Los Lobos' sophomore effort by the light of the moon. I have always liked this album and never understood why it didn't get the love of their debut or a couple of their later albums. I think this sophomore album is fantastic. It's also produced by T-Bone Burnett, who did the debut. And yeah, Los Lobos, if you don't know them, they are from East Los Angeles and they do every kind of music. We talked about how La Bamba was a big hit this year. They've done Disney music, they've done the Grateful Dead, Marvin Gaye, they've done Kurt Weill, they've done all these different styles, and of course they do traditional norteño music, Tex-Mex, and this one here has a little bit of Mexican music on it, which gives it a nice variety. I'm going to go with a song called "Is This All There Is?" Talking about working in a sewing factory, and is that all there is to life? It's really poignant. And then a ballad towards the end of the album called "River of Fools,"
Hmm.
which is one of those titles like Ship of Fools that's been used by a lot of different people. It's really a nice song, and these guys are superb musicians. Yeah, Is This All There Is? And River of Fools from By the Light of the Moon, Los Lobos.
Okay. My number six, and I'm sure you have this a little bit higher up than, because you have to have it on here, but Document by REM. It's this REM was, They were let's see. I think they were still on IRS at this time, weren't they? This wasn't this their last IRS album.
I think that's
Uh,
correct. Yeah.
yeah, but obviously I'm going to choose "It's the End of the World as We Know It" and "I Feel Fine." But the but the obvious other choice is not obvious to me because I've not really soured on the song, but knowing what the song is about and knowing how people misinterpret it, and that's the
Hmm.
one I love, which is a song about a person who basically a narcissist who is obsessed with possessing, um, the woman. Um, and I love the sound of the song, but it's kind of like U2's One. Those are both songs that people play at their wedding, and why would they play that at a wedding, especially the one I love? Michael Stipe said he can't stand it when they were doing the one I love, and couples would get closer together and put their arms around each other, and he goes, "Don't you get it? Don't you understand what this song is about?" So I chose instead "Finest Work Song," a great,
Okay.
intense song. So finest work song, and it's the end of the world as we know it from REM's document.
Yeah, I think those are great picks. And I love the one I love, but just another prop to occupy my time. It's not a love song.
No,
All right, my number five. All right, I think you're going to be surprised that I have this at number five. I love this album. We're really talking about five megastars now. This is where I have David Sylvian, Secrets of the Beehive. I love this album.
okay, all right, yeah,
Yeah. So you're not going to have any argument that I've got it in my top five. Uh, I think this is David Sylvian's best album. And
I agree.
it's so good. And I think the reason it's so good, I think, besides his vocals and his songwriting, is I think it's because of the contributions of Ryuichi Sakamoto, who played a bunch of keyboards, did most of the orchestral string arrangements on here, and did some of the keyboard arranging. And I think there's something about this collaboration of Sylvian and Sakamoto. And sorry, my phone's gone off. It's probably recording. I did silence it, but I'm still getting some notifications. Sorry about that. Yeah, this album has, you were talking about Roxy Music. Yeah, they had a big Roxy Music influence, but now Sylvian's almost in Talk Talk territory. Just,
Yes, that's a
just
good
this
example.
sublime. And to be honest with you, I never thought of the Talk Talk comparison until about 10 minutes ago when you were talking about it. Um, it just has that floating ambient gorgeousness to it. Orpheus is, I think, the best song that Sylvian's ever done, with possibility of Ghosts. I like Ghosts as well from Japan. But Orpheus may be his high mark. Uh, Great song. I can't say enough about it. The lyrics are wonderful. And then, even though the song is less than 2 minutes long, I'm going to go with the opener, September, which is just so pretty and has such lovely lyrics, and it's over before you know it. I think it's a minute 30, but it is one of my favorite songs on the album. So, September and Orpheus, Secrets of the Beehive, number five.
Good for you. So we'll have September, Orpheus, and Forbidden Colors on the playlist. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Um,
And by the
okay,
way, the playlist link will be in the link below.
link below. If there's a link below, we're all gonna go. Okay, so my number five, my man, Van the Man, Poetic Champions Compose. This is an interesting album because with this album, Van was moving away from the new age stuff that he got nominated, or actually he won a Grammy for Best Instrumental from Inarticulate Speech of the Heart. Um, but but he was moving away from that sound and into a little bit more back into the soul stuff that he was doing. It was still lush, and it still had some great horns on it, but it was more soul based. And this album, Poetic Champions Compose, pointed the way to the album that would come out 2 years later. That was a mega seller for him, Avalon Sunset. And there's a lot of that feeling of Avalon Sunset on here. But what's interesting is that there are two instrumentals also that Van wrote. He found that he could he could write a good instrumental, so he started doing that. Um, and and they don't exactly bookend the album, but they come close to it. Um, it's interesting because there's pictures of Van, small pictures on the CD of him with a saxophone and with a guitar and and a keyboard, because he would play all of those. So the two songs that I chose were Queen of the Slipstream, which to me is it's almost a dry run for Have I Told You Lately, but in some ways I like Queen of the Slipstream better, maybe because Rod Stewart didn't cover it. Um, and there's a live version when he's going to do um, uh, I just mentioned the song. Now it's slipped my mind. Have I told you lately? And he
Right, right,
says,
right.
and Van is talking to the audience, and he says, and this is a song that some of you may think is not by me. You might think it's by Rod Stewart, but I wrote it. And Van Morrison and Rod Stewart has made me an awful lot of money from his recording of this. So thank you, Rod. Um, but so Queen of the Slipstream, and the other is a song I just really like, and that's I Forgot That Love Existed. Um, Socrates and Plato, they praised it to the stars. And when he says, if my heart could do my thinking and my head begin to feel, isn't that what Van's all about? His heart doing his thinking and his head feeling. So there's kind of irony there where he says if, because that's what he does. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful album by Van. And it's like a transitional album between two different sounds. And you and I, when we did our Van Morrison thing, we talked about all the different things that Van has done and the different styles. But this is a real transition between two of them.
Okay, great pick. Yeah, we're both big Van Morrison fans. My number four, this is Prince, Sign of the Times, produced by Prince, double album, but it doesn't seem to have much weakness to it. I don't know. Maybe it's not quite a five-star album, but I still love it. And I've talked about how I give double albums a little bit of a slack, but there's not a bad song on here. Even a song like the Ballad of Dorothy Parker, where he's talking about let's take a bath with our clothes on. Prince can still get away with that, and I love it. And it's just I don't know. It's almost like his White Album. It's just got a lot of different styles on it, and I don't think I need to talk at great length about it because I'm guessing that most people have heard this album. Maybe some of you watching on the channel here have not heard it, but if you haven't, check it out. Sign of the Times is a great album. My picks are the opener, title track, Sign of the Times, with that classic little drum electronic drum beat that's so good on here. Uh, and then I'm going to go with a song. Okay, so he did a video of this, Sign of the Times, which I had on VHS for a long time. And I always enjoyed his performance of The Cross. which is way at the end of the album. And it's a religious song. I love it. So I'm going with Sign of the Times and The Cross. The Cross would not be a typical pick given all the great singles on here, but yeah, Sign of the Times. And that video is great, by the way. Sheila E. is just killing it on the drums. So I recommend that too. So Prince, Sign of the Times at number four.
Shut up already. Damn.
Yeah,
Um, the
exactly.
Okay, guess what my number four is? Prince, Sign of the Times. And I agree with you. Plenty to choose from. I chose Sign of the Times, but I chose a second one that's more typical up tempo Prince, and that is You Got the Look.
Hmm.
Sure enough, do be cooking in my book. So Sign of the Times and You Got the Look. And by the way, for any prog heads out there, Steven Wilson did a cover of Sign of the Times.
Did he?
Yeah, it's on his collection of covers, and it's quite interesting, actually. It's good.
Hmm.
I mean, because that was, keep in mind he's a bit younger than we are, so he was just like in high school or whatever when this album came out, and it was one of the big influences on him.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but just like one of the cliche openings of a novel is it was a dark and stormy night, you know, the corniest rhyme is supposed to be moon and June. And Prince rhymes moon and June on Sign of the Times, but he does it in a very clever way. He's let's see, what is that line? He says, uh, people sending rockets to the moon. And then he says another line and he goes, it's June. He just says it's June right at the end. He rhymes moon and
Now
June
she's
then,
doing horse.
but
Now
he
she's
does
doing
it.
horse. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And now it's June. So he does the old classic moon June rhyme on there. And he does it so cleverly that you don't even notice. He's just he's one of the got to be one of the highest IQ artists out there. Rest in peace. All right, my number
Indeed.
three. Oh, go ahead.
I just said indeed he is. He was.
Yeah, he was such a clever lyricist. Number three, you're going to be very pleased with this. This is a very special album to me because, and I don't want to go into great depth on it here on the channel, but let's just say that I know a little bit about alcoholism. And this is Clutching at Straws by Marillion.
Absolutely. It's a song about alcoholism.
Yeah, a whole concept album, and it's it's fucking brilliant. Fish's lyrics are so great. He's doing this. He's doing prog rock lyrics, but then so it's a concept album about a character who's a musician who's out of work, has a relationship that's falling apart, and is having a struggle with drugs and alcohol at the age of 29. And it's sung from a it's sung from a first person point of view, which doesn't mean that it's necessarily autobiographical, but you get the feeling that it's semi autobiographical. There's an honesty in here that's extraordinary. I think Clutching at Straws, which is just the title, Clutching at Straws, tells you that your things are falling apart, but it's also bringing up the image of a bar. It's I don't know. It's I don't think there's an album like it. In my opinion, I cannot think of any recording that's anything like this album. Most rock and roll, at least the rock and roll we grew up in the 70s, celebrates drinking. but Fish, who's the lead singer of Marillion, is giving us the other side of the coin. And I get emotional. And you know, it's interesting. The last album that they did, Misplaced Childhood, I did not have in my top 10. It was produced by Chris Kimsey, and he's got kind of a bright production style on it. Well, he produced this album, and to me, it doesn't sound the same. It sounds more like the
No, it's not.
old Marillion. So I was talking about how with Springsteen, how Plotkin and Landau would have kind of a different sonic palette. Kimsey comes up with a different sound on this album, and I personally like it better. Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to say about this is I hate self-pity music. Songs like Five for Fighting Superman and things like that. I don't really like that. And boy, Fish tiptoes right up to the line, but he doesn't cross it. And I think he manages to stay on this side of self pity, give us honesty without being maudlin. And that's a neat trick and a hard trick to accomplish. My song selections on here, the obvious one is Sugar Mice, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Your daddy took a rain check. I I get emotional listening to that song. But the other one is going to surprise you. I'm going to go with Torch Song. I love
Okay.
Torch Song. When he belts out, burn a little brighter now. He's talking about why we drink. It's a great song about a doctor tells him you're not going to live till 30. And he says, that would kind of be a romantic way to go. And then he says, we burn a little brighter now. It's just about living the large life. So I don't know. I just so respond to this album for personal reasons and just objective reasons as a fan. But Marillion Clutching at Straws, number three, I love this album. That's it.
So do I. The and it was the last album that Fish did with Marillion because his relationship with the members of the band was also falling apart. And, you know, in hindsight, he's able to admit that his drinking had an awful lot to do with it. Um, that he took it too far, which many alcoholics do. That's the whole thing. But Yeah, the by the way, Torch is the pseudonym for the character
Yeah.
that is, yeah. He's he's the he's the pale albino at the end of the bar, the one with the silvery hair.
Mm. Oh, you mean on the cover, the artwork?
Yeah, yeah. And in one of the songs, Fish sings, he's down at the end of the bar, the one with the silvery hair.
Ah,
Okay, I agree. It's a fantastic album.
so
Well,
you're up. Oh, go ahead.
it's not my number three though. My number three is I love this album. And I like other albums that he's done and he did before, but this one's magical in some ways. It's Robbie Robertson, his first solo album, Robbie Robertson. And it's got Dan Lanois, producing it, and it's got part of that whole group of, it's got U2 singing on it, and it's got the Bodines on it, and it's a real variety of songs. Um, there's still elements uh, of the band on there, but it's starting to get Robertson was going to embrace his Native American heritage, and here he began doing it with songs like "Showdown at Big Sky," and my one of my chosen songs, and that is "Broken Arrow." Um,
Mm.
but and I love that song, "Broken Arrow." Who else is going to show you a broken arrow? But my favorite song from the album is the opening song, which is called Fallen Angel. And it's got Peter Gabriel singing with him on there. And if you see the video, you can see Gabriel there. But what's interesting is that um, when Gabriel says fallen angel, the Robbie Robbie sings in a way I never would have thought that Robbie could sing this way. Here's what's interesting, and Cindy and I have talked about this because she loves Robbie Robertson's voice. There were three main singers for the band: Levon and uh,
Rick and
uh,
Richard.
Rick Danko and Richard Manuel. And Robbie didn't sing for the band except backup, and yet he wrote nearly all the songs. Well, he really surprised everyone by how well he could sing here. And on Fallen Angel, when he sings Cast a Shadow Up Against the Sun, his voice cracks. And he actually sounds like, Richard Manuel, because that's what the song is about. Just a year or two before this album came out, Manuel had hanged himself in his hotel room. And so it's a song about Richard Manuel, and it's just a really heartbreaking
Mm,
song. So Robbie Robertson, Fallen Angel, and Broken Arrow.
wow. Yeah, good album. I like one of my favorite parts of that album is actually Sammy Bodine
Oh
when
yeah,
he sings in possibly the most nasal voice possible. He goes, "Somewhere down the crazy river." And
somewhere
it's so
down.
nasal.
Yeah,
But I love Sammy Bodine's second vocal on that song. Yeah, it's great. Um, all right, so my number two. Wow, I'm already at number two. We're flying through this. It's the Replacements. Pleased to meet me. So I like this one just about as well as Tim, and it didn't get quite as good reviews. But I'm not sure why. I think if the Replacements had only put out this album and it had been the only album they'd ever put out, people would rave about it. I think it's great. It's produced by Jim Dickinson, who did Big Star and Alex Chilton. So he was a Memphis producer, and they wanted, since they adored Big Star, they went and worked with Jim Dickinson. I think it's a great sound. There's some wonderful guitar, like on the Ledge. The Ledge has one of the best killer guitar solos. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Replacements, they're kind of a punk and classic rock blend, and kind of a bar band sound. And I love them. Paul Westerberg, the writer, he's great, and he's got a great singing voice. So I'm going to go with the song Alex Chilton. I just mentioned Alex Chilton, but they have a song called Alex Chilton.
Mhm.
Love this song, and then Can't Hardly Wait. But the replacements are great, and it's interesting that I have this after Marillion's Clutching at Straws, because this is also an album with Nightclub Jitters is one of the songs on here. It's also a album about. It's got a lot of songs about drinking, but it's the other side of the coin. It's about the happy times drinking, sort of. But Paul
right.
Westerberg does have a little bit of a, I don't know, it kind of, maybe they're singing about both sides of the coin. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a better way to put it. But it's interesting that I have Clutching at Straws and Pleased to Meet Me at 3-2, because they have similar themes but different feel. But yeah, the Replacements, you know how much I love them. Great band. Number two.
My number two is Marillion's Clutching at Straws. Love this album. And I totally agree with you. Sugar Mice has to be on there. The other song is a song that ironically is celebrating drinking, but it's very clear that he's getting tired of it. But that's Sláinte Maith, which is an
Wow.
Irish And I just really love the sound of it. And so those are two very different songs. Slante Moth is an aggressive anthemic type of song, where Sugar Mice is one of the most delicate, sad songs that Fish ever wrote.
Yeah.
Um, and so, there's a good contrast with those two songs. I don't need to say anything else about it, except that I was glad those two songs existed, because at the beginning, the whole Warm Wet Circles suite, you know, um, in with the previous album, Misplaced Childhood, Marillion began doing three-part suites, and like almost every album they made would have three songs that flow together. And and at the opening song, several opening songs, That Time of the Night, Warm Wet Circles, those are all they all tie together. And it would have been wrong to choose just one of those. So the two that I chose, I think, are good. And then add to that, yours, and it's great. Okay.
My cats are wrestling down here on the bottom of I have my computer on top of a cat tree and they're down here. So if my computer is shaking, it's because these cats are playing down here. Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people would have picked as their second song Incommunicado.
Oh yeah,
And
that was the first song I heard from the album on the radio.
and it's a great song, but I like your pick better. I love
And I don't think
Incommunicado, but your pick is great. I love that song. It's wonderful. Yeah, it'd probably
they
be.
on their final tour with Fish, they would always open with Slante Moth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a great song. You ready for my number one? You are
I
not going to be surprised by this at
no.
all. So my number one is the Joshua Tree by U2. Not everyone loves U2, but I do. And man, I love this album the day it came out. First song I ever heard was With or Without You. And that's a brilliant song. It just builds and builds in intensity. If you just listen to the drumming, just listen to the drums on With or Without You. Master class in drumming, how to build a song up in intensity. And yeah, it's just great. Produced by Daniel Lanois and Brian Eno. Yeah, this is 5 stars all the way. I love every single song on it. And I've loved the album since it came out. And I think it's probably U2's peak. They would go on to make other good albums. No Line on the Horizon is a pretty good album. But yeah, I don't think they ever topped the Joshua Tree. It was a huge smash hit, and I think for a good reason. And the songs that I'm going with are pretty typical. I mean, there's a lot of deep tracks I like Exit or Running to Stand Still, but I got to go with singles on here. So I'm going to go with I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For and With or Without You.
And add to that Where the Streets Have No Name, and you have one, two, three singles all in a row opening that album.
Mm-hmm.
And my number one is the Joshua Tree, and I chose Where the Streets Have No Name, which, by the way, the Pet Shop Boys did a really interesting cover of, they did a mashup of Where the Streets Have No Name and You're Just Too Good to Be True, and it's hilarious. Um, but yeah, that song and the other one is it's not really a deep track, but it's Bullet the Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And slapping them down 100, 200. Um, so yeah, this is, I agree. It's U2 at their peak, and they've continued to make good albums and even some great albums. I really like All That You Can't Leave Behind. Um, but oh, and then there was one album that came later that equals it, I think, and that is from 1990.
Huh?
What?
Huh?
It has the fly on it, and it
Oh, Octoon Baby. Yeah.
Octung Baby, yeah, Octung Baby. That
Yeah, I
that one
forgot.
that one equals them. Okay, so my number one also is U2, the Joshua Tree.
Wow. So and I'm not totally surprised by that. So, but that's cool that we have the same number one because most years we don't, but sometimes we do. Yeah, it's great. Ready for my honorable mentions?
I am.
All right. So, first one I've got on here is Sonic Youth, Sister. Yeah, I like this album. It just wasn't quite there for my top 10, but Sister is, I think, the first Sonic Youth album that I really truly like. They were a little hard to digest in the beginning. That, I like noise rock, but man, whew, if you listen to some of that early Sonic Youth, it's a little tough. But then they came along with Sister, and that's the Sonic Youth that I like. If I we're going to make we've got an honorable mentions playlist. I didn't put any songs down here, but I probably would go with the opener. Um, Schizophrenia is the name of the opener, and so that's a good one. The next one I have on my list is Tom Waits, Frank's Wild Years. This album has been growing on me with repeated listenings on this project. It's my least favorite of the so-called trilogy, Swordfish Trombones, Rain Dogs, and Frank's Wild Years. But it's got a dementedness to it that I really like. It's This album has grown on me, and it almost snuck into my top 10. I I always had a hard time with this album, but in the last 2 weeks that I've been listening to it, I've really fallen in love with it. But it still wasn't just didn't quite crack the top 10, but I do like this album. Has a lyric that I love: "Never drive a car when you're dead."
It
Yeah,
it also
Tom,
has
that's good advice.
it also has one of the best punchlines of any songs. When never did like that dog.
I've My favorite song was always "Straight to the Top," Vegas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, give it up for the band. I love that. I love that Frank Sinatra thing he's doing. But I think for the playlist, I'm going to go with a song called "Temptation." But there's several good tracks on here. Next on my list is REM Document. So you're probably surprised this didn't make my top 10 because I'm a huge REM fan. I did see this tour and I love the album, but it just, I don't know. I don't think it's a 5-star album. I'd give it 4 to 4.5 stars. Produced by Scott Litt. Um, yeah, I like your picks. Finest Work song and The End of the World as We Know It. It's just not quite a 5-star album, so it fell out of my top 10, but I do love REM's Document. Next on my list is a band I probably will not mention again. They have two albums that I really like. One, we already passed that year up. It was an album called 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1. And then in 87, they released Diesel and Dust. This is Midnight Oil. I do I do love this album, and I wanted to get it in my top 10. Many good songs. Of course, Beds Are Burning was the big hit. And I think Beds Are Burning is brilliant. I absolutely love that song, and it sounds great. It has these great horns on it. Many other good songs like Bulldozer and uh, there's about 4 or 5 really killer tracks on here. I really wanted to get this on my list. And then my last honorable mention is an album that I didn't give the highest rating to on our Van Morrison ranking. I kind of said it was a little new agey, but that was listening to it in context with all of Van Morrison's other albums. listening to it here in 1987, I was really enjoying Poetic Champions Compose. Great, great song. Oh, song selections. Let me go back to REM. I'll go with the one I love. Diesel and Dust, I'm going to go with Beds Are Burning. That seems the obvious choice. And then for Poetic Champions Compose, I think I'm going to pick Someone Like You, which is a beautiful love song. Which, by the way, I don't know. I can listen to that song two ways. One is, hey, I've always been looking for someone just like you, and you're the one I found. Nice, sweet love song. Or I can listen to it as he just lost somebody. Now he's found somebody new. And he's saying, I found someone like you, the older person that I used to be with. I can listen to this song two ways, and it has a whole different feel depending on how I interpret it. But Poetic Champions Compose, yeah, it's got a couple instrumentals. It's soft in spots, but you know what? It's really pretty. And I think it's a rock solid album, good enough to make my honorable mention. So I agree with you that it's a great album. So yeah, I got Van on here right at the end.
Okay, my honorable mentions are actually a little, I wouldn't say out of left field, but they're not all bands that I have, put repeatedly, but I wanted to have them in here somewhere, although a couple of them are, like for instance, Yes, Big Generator. Um, and this is with the follow-up to 90125. And it was the the incarnation of Yes that was Chris Squire, John Anderson, Alan White, and then on keyboards, Tony Kaye, and on um, guitar, Trevor Rabin. And Trevor Rabin being he was an Australian pop star before he joined with Yes. And so he was writing songs and singing songs. And typically I'm not that fond of them, but this song, Shoot High, Aim Low, he and John sing, they both sing. They trade vocals back and forth. And it's like, wow, it really works well. So if you haven't listened to it, listen to Shoot High, Aim Low. And there's a lot of dynamics to the song also. This one, uh, God, this was a huge hit, and I had to put something on it because I really do like the album. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, and it's probably the only Guns N' Roses album that I like unconditionally. Okay, um, talk about diminishing returns. This is a band that just was um, losing it with every con, uh, every album that came afterwards. Um, but every subsequent album. But this one has so many good songs on it, and I just am going with the obvious one, "Welcome to the Jungle," which was done by Big Daddy as a "The Lion Sleeps Tonight." Um, you know, and when he
Mhm.
sings, and on the Big Daddy version, um, "You're gonna die." It's just great. Um, and then the next two are both bands that I like, and I normally would pick more up-tempo tracks, but I chose really gentle tracks because I love them so well. The Call, Into the Woods, and I
Mm.
love the song Memory. It's a song that can make me cry at times because it's about childhood love, I mean, what adolescent love. And in my memory, I remember you still. Um, and then the other is 10,000 Maniacs in My Tribe with the,
Mm.
the beautiful song Verdi Cries. Um, there's other songs that are more popular, but not with me. This one is my favorite song by that. And Natalie Merchant also has done it solo, a number of times. But again, just like Memory, this is a going back to childhood, and she was on the beach with her family, and there was an old man who listened to Verdi, and she would go and listen to the stuff. And when she says, if I'd stayed another week, I would have known all the words to Aida. And
Uh,
that it's really good. Oh, also, they're always bringing him breakfast pastries, and he doesn't eat them because she steals them and runs to the beach and eats them. It's a great little story, but Verdi cries. And then the last one, Peter Gabriel, POV Live. This was Peter Gabriel on his tour the from the fourth album, Security.
so,
Okay, and
okay.
yeah, and and this was, or wait, yeah, or no, it wasn't. This was from So. This was on the So tour. Um, and we talked earlier about In Your Eyes, how that's such a great song, but when you hear this one, it's missing something because the duet with Youssou N'Dour is just absolutely astonishing. And if you watch the video and watch how they dance together, and when Gabriel and Youssou and Dur grab each other's hands, and it's just it's one of those wow, wow, wow. I would show it to my students, and I mean these are high school students, and they go, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" So, and it's about a 13-minute thing overall, the version of it. So POV Live, the entire album is great, but In Your Eyes, it's worth it just for that. And it's available, by the way, on the bonus deluxe version of So, and it's called Live in Athens. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Live in Athens is POV Live.
So three comments on your honorable mentions. One is POV was a video, right?
Yes.
So I think that's the video. I think that's the video, and it's hard to find on YouTube, but tell me if my memory is correct, because I can't find any video to prove it. But isn't that the video where he stood on the stage with his arms out and he just fell backwards without looking and let the audience catch him? I find that really emotional. Yeah, just he's just telling the audience, "I trust you." I think it might be during Biko or something, but
With
yeah. And
Biko,
then,
he said to the audience when they were all singing along, Biko, Biko, he said, the rest is up to you. He names all these people who have been, in prison.
uh,
The rest is up to you. And he puts the microphone down on for them to keep singing.
it's a great piece of theater, isn't it?
Mhm.
10,000 Maniacs. I was going to tell you that I went to Anderson's Fifth Estate to see them, and they performed maybe two songs, and then Natalie Merchant ran off stage. And one of the guys in the band got up and said, "Her aunt died today. She can't go on." And they didn't give us our money back because they
Oh,
had performed. So I saw
I thought you were
10,000
going to say,
Maniacs do like two songs.
I thought you were going to say that somebody told her that Cat Stevens was in the audience.
But yeah, she just ran off stage in tears, and that was it. We got to see about 10 minutes of the 10,000 Maniacs. And so when we talk about who we've seen in concert, sometimes technically you've seen somebody, but not really. And then I was going to talk about Guns N' Roses. You were talking about Big Daddy. I'm a big Richard Cheese and Lounge Against the Machine fan. And my favorite album by Richard Cheese is called Aperitif for Destruction. And it's brilliant. He does a version of Alanis Morissette's You Ought to Know that just swings. It's so killer. Love Richard Cheese. So, all right. So, this is the point in the recording where we usually go through our list of 15 and talk about who we've seen in concert. So, I'll do this. I've seen U2 bunches of times, 8 times. And that's because I saw them 3 times on the Joshua Tree Tour. So the Joshua Tree Tour opened in Tempe, Arizona, the very first show. And they did 2 shows in Tempe to kick off the tour. And then almost a year later, they came back round to town and did 2 more shows at the Activity Center. including a show on April 4th, which I was there. And April 4th is the day that Martin Luther King was shot. So they did Pride in the Name of Love on April 4th. It was pretty emotional. So I saw them three times on I saw 3 out of 4 of those shows they did in Tempe. I've seen the Replacements once. I've seen Prince twice, Los Lobos 5 times, Bruce Springsteen 4 times, Husker Du once, John Hyatt twice, Warren Zevon twice, REM 4 times, and Van Morrison twice. So that's a lot. Who have I not seen? I've never seen Marillion. I've never seen David Sylvian. I've never seen Sonic Youth, Tom Waits, or Midnight Oil. But I've seen most of the people on this list. Yeah.
Well, you put me to shame. I've seen Husker Du with you, um, Springsteen several times, REM a couple times, Van Morrison 3 times, um, Marillion 3 times,
Yeah.
and although always with Steve Hogarth, not with Fish. U2 uh, twice. Never saw Yes. Never saw Guns N' Roses. Seen The Call several times, at least 3 times, and one time, I saw it with you, and nobody knew who they were, but I was buying the album that had Modern Romans, and I was giving it to my friends, saying that's a great album. Um, and then Peter Gabriel twice.
Yeah, that's a lot. So we've done pretty well, I would say. This was fun. I think that I didn't see 87 as quite as deep as you did, but I thought it was a good year. Next year in 88, I've been working on that list. I think that's an even stronger year. So 88 is, I'm having some difficulty with that year, but we'll do that next week if you're available.
I should be.
And yeah, so you got a salutation? I'm going to bring my cat up with mine. As we say here in Bonita, Mexico, buen dia. This is Ruskin.
Hi, Ruskin. I wish my cat Wendell were here, but he's in on my bed. When he's most of the time when I'm out here on this chair, he gets up on my lap and just hunkers in, and it's just so cute because he just completely falls asleep there. But he also will go in on my bed and just sleep there, and that's where I'm sure that's where he is right now. So my little chat noir, my black cat.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. If you're still watching this, we appreciate it. And write us a comment. We would love it. So take care, everybody.
Good to see you all. Look, I'm AI. You can tell. Look at my fingers. I'm AI.